Good morning, Patriots. How you doing today? This is Mike the Patriot coming to you live from the downtown metropolis of LaMonte, Missouri. Hope you guys are having a great day wherever it is you are at. It's beautiful here in central Missouri. If you're a penguin or a polar bear, hey, Aaron, come get your weather. It's acting drunk. Just saying. That's to our good friend Aaron up there, Canadian Patriot. He doesn't want to go by that anymore, by the way. Inspector Cates, who's always on it when it comes to all things Canadian. And it's cold. I asked him if he was going ice skating. I think it's supposed to be like minus 25 or minus 30 Fahrenheit real temperature this weekend up in Toronto. Enjoy. For those of you that living down in the southern part of Florida, stick it. I'm just kidding. Oh, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to get to it. It might be a little bit long show today. If you'll hang with me, I'll keep going. Got lots of things happening. Lots of things. All you people that say, nothing's happening. Earth, I wish nothing happened. Oh, my God. All you people, how you like me now? Because things are starting to happen. They're starting to happen. You know, when this end of the world apocalypse snowstorm that we get every single year, it just, depends on where it is. Weather changes. I know man's controlling the weather. Really? How are they controlling this storm? They've turned on all the radar stations. Oh my God. I actually saw this post on a site. They've turned on all the radar stations, and oh my God, look, it's causing the weather to come in. Or maybe they're using the radar stations to track the weather coming in. I mean, how was there ever weather before there was radar and HARP? I was just looking, somebody posted on my Facebook page, the storm of 1978, Sedalia, Missouri, 54 inches of snow. Catastrophic. Did they use HARP back then? Maybe. Oh, yeah, probably. Cloud seeding. Of course, people are tagging me in the James O'Keefe one. I've already talked about it. The James O'Keefe one, where the World Economic Forum types are over there talking about all of their weather manipulation. None of them said they are actually doing anything. They just said they're spending billions and billions of dollars. Kind of like Somali daycares. They're not actually running a leering center. There's no kids there. They're just taking a bunch of money. It's the same thing. Now, let me tell you this. Watching our local weather stations, our weather people in Kansas City and St. Louis and whatnot, they're saying, yeah, it's going to be a pretty good storm, but it's not going to be what they're saying. And then they get in the guy from Kansas City that I was watching, he gets into breaking down why the storm and the timing of the storm and how there's a cutoff over here that's not going to allow it to get as much moisture. He goes into breaking down why he thinks it's not going to be the apocalypse people call it for. Now, if you're in that stretch between Texas and North and South Carolina, where they're going to get, measurable ice, it's going to suck. I mean, an eighth of an inch of ice sucks. That's heavy. Start bringing down trees, start bringing down power lines. Anything more than that is dangerous. But we actually had amateur, how shall I say, weathermen insurgent mythology saying 3 inches of ice. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We are going to get a storm. It's going to be really bad in some places and not so bad in other places. That's what happens when you get a storm. But you want to know what I know? Okay, if you guys down in southern Arkansas, in Mississippi, Alabama get 8, 9, 10 inches of snow, sucks to be you, okay? Because you guys don't have the equipment for it. But here in central Missouri, where it snows all the time, oh my God, panic, panic. It snows tonight, tomorrow, maybe a little on Sunday. By Monday, the roads will be cleared and salted and everything will be fine. Unless like martial law is declared and everybody's told to stay in their homes in their basements and wait for the aliens to come and wipe out all of our enemies and save us from ourselves or something. I don't know. The emergency broadcast. This is it. Donald Trump said there's a storm coming. This is Q. Let me say this. I've been perturbed in my spirit about something. Aaron says he's not skating today. I've been perturbed in my spirit about something. So when I first started getting it, when I first said, yes, Lord, I will, this would have been November, December 2019. Yes, Lord, I will. At this point, I'd already been researching these prophetic word stuff and starting to dabble in that, starting to try to get my mind to understand all that stuff. And, and I started the show during the Great Toilet Paper Run, and I started really digging in and following stuff and listening to stuff. I fell for some of this stuff back then. But in my spirit, in my gut, in my inner man, as they would say, you are three, just like the Holy God, the Father, the Holy Spirit is three. You are three. You are flesh, you are mind or soul, and you are spirit. You are three. In that spirit where the mind soul communicates with the spirit, the Holy Spirit, there was always a check mark in my, I'm like, telling me this ain't so, with all of the stuff that they were putting out there, all these people, and I've stopped following many of them. We are on full-fledged as 5G warfare, maybe 6G warfare, psychological ops right now from both sides of the aisle. And they're working together. Did you see that the House just passed a continuing resolution that spends $1.7 trillion and funds most of the Doge cuts? Did you see that? They're not on our side. But God's got another thing coming for them folks. I'm here to tell you. That doesn't mean it's going to pass the Senate. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But as I consider and I think and I ponder on this stuff, more and more and more, that spirit is checking me. There's a lot going on. All this patriot mythology stuff that's out there, all this bashing of Israel and Jews, I absolutely will not change. I shared a post on the Facebook. I don't know. Did I talk about this yesterday? Maybe I did. I shared another one today. It's scripture. It's the last 2 or 3 paragraphs in Amos. Now, one of the things I enjoy doing more than anything in the world, it's like a calling. God's called me to do it this way, and I'm glad he did. And I enjoy the responses that I get in 2 ways. One, I can tell who is saved, sanctified, and filled in the Holy Ghost and reads their Bible on a regular basis by the people who comment when I post these posts. Because when I post, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when the reaper will overtake the plowman and the planter by the one treading grapes. New wine will drip from the mountains and flow from the hills, and I will bring my people Israel back from exile. They will rebuild the ruined cities and live in them. They will plant vineyards and drink their wine. They will make gardens and eat their fruit. I will plant Israel in their own land, never again to be uprooted from the land I have given them, says the Lord your God. Now, when I post that, I can see the people Like when they say, can't wait, thanks, Mike, praise God Almighty, in Jesus' name, empowered by God's Holy Spirit, amen. Ella, you know, I know you read your Bible. People say, my brother Maurice says hallelujah. And another person says replacement theology is still true. Not. God's word and truth will stand. So this person, Judy, knows it's that because what I do is I check out the chapter and verse. I take out anything that indicates it's from the Bible and I post it in there. And those of you that read the Bible, understand the Bible, listen to the Holy Spirit, go to church, get discipled, go to Sunday school, go to Bible studies, whatever, you recognize. You may not go, you may go, I know that's in the Bible, but I'm not really sure where. I don't remember. It's the last few paragraphs of Amos, the book Amos. Now, to the person that says this to me, yeah, God said not the Byron Rothschild, not the satanic worshiping Zionists. Why do Christians fall for this when it's not even the Torah practicing Jews that believe it? It's only the Zionists who don't have genetic ties to Hebrews, who want land from the Palestinians, who are more genetically similar to the actual Semitic, like our tax dollars for the healthcare and college. Christians in Jerusalem are calling for the end of Judeo-Christian programming. Blah. Well, when you say that in the response to me posting scripture straight out of the Bible, that just tells me that you, as a Christian who goes to church every Sunday, to a particular church that I know, don't have any idea what the Bible says. Therefore, you don't have any idea what God says. And this in here lies the problem. So I'm saying all that to say this, that you've got to get focused in this season right now. You've got to get focused in on what God is saying and what God is doing. And there's two ways to do that. Pray, and ask God questions. Ask God questions. It's real simple. God, what do you think about this? He'll answer you one way or another. It's kind of weird how that works. The other way is read the Bible over and over and over. Read it. Read the Bible. Tardfez says, I might read the Bible when I'm finished reading the Talmud, whatever. Just read the Bible. Just read what God said. It's important to understand that. Anyways, I say all that to say this, that I have been focusing on what God is telling me, what God is check marking in my spirit. Like when I don't know, it was a few weeks ago, it was in December, beginning of December, Amanda Grace put out a prophetic word. And I sent it to Mike. I think I sent it to Mike because it was like everything that God is telling us, she was saying. I was like, wow, this is amazing. That's kind of how it works, though. It's confirmation. But here lately, I've heard words about J.D. Vance from these prophets. And I've heard words about Pam Bondi from these prophets. I saw one the other day, not somebody I follow, somebody I know, but I don't follow. And I'm getting that check mark. Down here. Julie Green, check mark. And I'm like, the same kind of check mark I got with the Patriot mythology stuff back in the day. And I'm like, man. Tart and Feather, there is no boundaries between witchcraft. If it's witchcraft, it's witchcraft. And let me tell you something. Some of that is really, really bad that you're talking about. That's why I don't read that stuff. Marine saying, me too, on the check marks. So I'm not sure if they're I'm not sure. Just say that. But here's what I got. So today, when I was praying, yesterday too, when I was praying, I asked God specifically about these things, about JD Vance, about Pam Bundy, about the rest of them. And so far, all I get is check marks on these words that are being put out. And here's something that I have decided. You know, and I've made some mistakes here too, so I have to repent of that. If you're giving a prophetic word with a quote from Q or QAnons, you're in trouble as a prophet. I know that there's prophets like Amanda Grace, and I know that there's prophets like Robin Bullock, and I can name some others, but just off the top of my head, I've heard them personally say it, that they don't even turn on the news. They don't follow the stuff on the internet. They don't follow Q or QAnons or Candace Owens or any of the other stuff because they don't want it influencing what God is telling them. And I'm afraid some of these other prophets are following. I know one particularly that I've been getting a whole lot of spiritual checks on, that is prophecy Q, prophecy Q, prophecy Q, prophecy Q, drawing all the lines and all the connections and all this stuff. This person was one of the people here in the last 24 hours. Donald Trump said weather. Donald Trump said the storm is coming. Oh my God, this is it. This is it, ladies and gentlemen, EBS in 48 hours. And I'm going, you know, that's just not right. Again, I'm not talking bad against Julie Green. I'm just saying there's a check mark there that I don't understand. And there's more coming out too. All of these people who've been attacking Charlie Kirk and his wife, especially his wife, are now attacking Greg Laurie. Do you know who Greg Laurie is? Okay, there are Mark Taylor quotes Q sometimes to match his prophecy. Okay, I don't, in my filing cabinet right over there, I've got a stack this thick printed out of Mark Taylor prophecies about back in the 90s. Mark Taylor absolutely was a prophet of God, but he himself has said that he's received no words from God in years. Biggs too. I'm not saying anything against him, but I'm going to use Mark Taylor as an example. Mark Taylor has been going out and calling all the prophets that are getting words now, including Kim Clement, as false. And I'm sorry, Mark, there may be a reason that you're not hearing from God, because God is absolutely speaking to me, and I know he's speaking to Mike. And I don't know why I'm going down this road today. I'm just making this show longer, but it is what it is. God said for me to do a show, do these shows, do politics, and to speak when he wants me to, when he wants me to speak. So here I am. So Greg Laurie is if you've seen that movie about the Jesus movement, what's the name of that movie? Somebody tell me. I've seen it. It's a great movie. It's got Kelsey Grammer in it, playing the preacher of a little Baptist church there in Northern California. What's the name of that movie? Anyways, if you've seen that movie, Greg Laurie is the young guy who ends up getting saved and getting married to he chases that one girl, the one rich girl. He's the one that was in the stoned out of his mind in the rain, and the hippie, the Christian hippie guy, came and sat with him in the rain. That's who Jesus Revolution. Thank you, Marine. That's who Greg Laurie is, and he starts a church there with the help of the Kelsey Grammer character. He starts a church there that's still there today. It's a big church. And I think my uncle's on here. At least he was checking in. He knows about that church. He's been there. But they're now calling out him for his association with Erica Kirk. And they're putting a whole bunch of a whole bunch of nasty stuff. Let me tell you, my spirit's checking on that one. Now, there's nasty stuff being revealed right now all over the place, especially with Bethel and some other big names out there. God is revealing stuff. So could he be messed up too? Sure. But again, I have a check mark with that stuff. Mainly, I don't know. I was going to say it's because where it's coming from, but I think God is trying to tell me to pay attention to this stuff. Calvary Chapel, thank you. Yes, my discernment. God told me not to listen to Julie. Okay, that's what you need, by the way. And by the way, you can't have that discernment. You will not have that discernment if you don't seek God and the Holy Spirit and pray constantly, and you don't read your Bible. You know, I was talking to a lady at Dollar General because I handed her a $50 bill to buy some stuff for the house, right? And she held the dollar bill up and she looked at it. She marked it with the little pin and all stuff. And I jokingly said, well, if it's bad, it came out of the ATM at the bank. She just chuckled, so we got to check them all. I said, I understand. Chuck Smith is the Kelsey Grammer character, right? Correct? It's a great movie. It's a great movie. It's what God's doing in today's time, by the way. So I was joking about that. I said, you know how the bank tells if they're fake notes? Is because they handle the real ones all the time, that the fake ones stick out to them. She goes, yeah, I know. It's like there's something wrong with this. You can't tell what it is, but it's wrong. If you read the Bible all the time, continuously, just read it, and you seek God continuously, you can tell the fake stuff. Is a check bad or good? A check is me. In my case, Gail, a check is God telling me He's going, there's something off here. Pay attention to this, but not. See, sometimes God tells me pay attention to this because it connects to that. That's the political stuff that I'm called to do. But other time, God He doesn't give me an answer. He just gives me a check mark, like saying, there's something here. I want you to watch. It's not right. And sometimes He gives me a check mark that's like a closed door. When it was dealing with some of that QAnon mythology 2 or 3 years, 5 years ago, God's like, no, this is not it. She goes, there you go, making sense again. Anyways, so I pay attention, but lately here, I've been asking God, something tells me God is check marking me on this stuff about, and I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I saw somebody mentioned Biggs. I saw Biggs talking about J.D. Vance, and he's saying we need to pray for him because Satan is going to attack him after 2028 because he'll be the contender. I mean, I could have told you that without a prophetic word, right? So pray for J.D. Vance. Pray for his wife, pray for his kids and his new baby on the way. Because that may be a correct prophetic word. I mean, obvious. But some of this other stuff God is checking me on. And I've asked God about it. God has not given me a clear answer to some of that stuff. And if God gives me an answer and he releases me to say it, I will say it. But right now, I don't know why I brought all that up right now. It's just because there's so much out there. And one of the things that I have decided that if you're a prophet of God, if God is calling you to be a prophet and you have a voice and you're out there and you're connecting your God prophecies, the word of God, thus saith the Lord to Q, there's a problem. There's a problem. I can't put my finger on it, but there's a problem. Yeah, Jesus Revolution was the movie. Absolutely. It's a great movie. You should go watch it. If you haven't seen it, go watch it again. It's a great movie. It really is. That's the movement that's happening. at the Embassy House here in Central Missouri. It's that right there, that these guys are being set on fire for the Lord, and they were all high a few weeks ago till they got to the embassy. I mean, it's just God is moving. God is moving. Let me say this: God is moving, and we have Patriot infiltrators and spiritual prophetic infiltrators that are trying to crush that movement. People who may have once heard from God, but now God is silent to them because whatever reason, and now and people that may have never heard from God, they may be hearing from somebody else, are trying to crush that movement in its infancy. They're trying to stop what God is doing. And let me tell you, you can't. The more you try, the more it'll make it better. That's what I believe. So watch for that. If any prophet out there is speaking against, listen to this. If any prophet is out there is speaking against, I don't know why am I, hold on a second. I don't know why my wife is calling me at 9:00. Hello. Okay. I'm in the middle of my show, so I got to call you back. Bye. That's about the LaMonte fire stuff. Anyways, not to interrupt not to interrupt the flow. They just here you go, Christians. Pray for this. All that stuff that's going on. I told you about Raw Pettis and all the accusations they're making over there. The post office just threatened to fire my wife over it. When she has absolutely nothing to do with it. So, anyways, talk about an attack. Anyways, if you, I can't talk about that. Other than the statements that the board has put out, I can't talk about what's really going on here. Let me just say this, since that got me off that subject I was talking about. Pray for that for me, because this is retaliation from disgruntled employees that were removed. This is exactly what this is. And I can prove that with documents. Unlike what they're saying, I can prove with documents. Anyways, yeah, lawsuit. Okay, back to the show. I guess God was wanting me to stop talking about what I was talking about. So I will listen. So that's Raw. If you want to look it up on Facebook, Raw Pettis, Pettis. Anyways, let's get started with the good stuff. This is Secretary Kristi Noem. Homeland Security investigators and FBI agents arrest Miss Armstrong, who played a key role in orchestrating the church riots in St. Paul, Minnesota. She's being charged with federal crime under 18 U.S.C. 241. Religious freedom is the bedrock of the United States. There is no First Amendment right to obstruct someone from practicing their religion. So she's been arrested. Talk about small town. Yep, I agree 100%. And here's the thing. Back to that subject. It's legally, I can't go on there and debate these guys on Facebook. They are allowed, they can say whatever they want to say. Thank you for that, Robert. I appreciate it. He says, prayers for you, Mike, and put a little tip in the tip jar. I can't go back. I can't tell what I'm saying to you, what I just said to you a minute ago, that I can prove. I can't Until we get to a court of law, if it gets that far, I can't say anything because you can't talk about employees, business. Does that make sense? So I'm kind of hamstrung in what I can say. But I may go talk to an attorney friend of mine. And the LaMonte Fire Association does have insurance for this type of thing. So we may talk to them too. But
this is the beginning of what's going to happen.
Barbara Streisand. So here's more. So this person was also arrested. How do you say her name? I don't even know how to say her name. But this chick was arrested too. And of course,
this
here they are.
What's going to happen when you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street and you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution. When you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the civil rights movement was about, the civil rights movement was about these very kinds of protests. And for some reason, in our modern era, people think that in order to have protests, you got to be,
Anyway, so there's Don Lemon in the background trying to tell that it was all above board and everything was right. But they're now arresting people. They're now totally arresting people. It's pronounced I can't even pronounce that word. Chantelet. But here's the funny thing about it. So here they're arresting him, and here's the Patriot mythology infiltrators going, low-hanging fruit, low-hanging fruit, low-hanging fruit, low-hanging fruit. All using the same word, as if they were given talking points. It's amazing how that happens. Isn't it?
It's fact.
Isn't that amazing? So more is coming of this for sure. More arrests are coming of this for sure. And we're going to get to that about them going after Don Lemon in just a second. Let me find the post here real quick. It says breaking right here. Here it is right here. Breaking. A federal magistrate refused to sign off on the DOJ charges against Don Lemon per multiple reports. Just another activist judge running cover for leftists. There are several other avenues AG Bondi can take to charge Lemon. Why do I keep saying Lemon instead of Lemon? Because he threw a rant here about 3 or 4 years ago. If he threw a rant here about 3 or 4 years ago about his name and how you pronounce his name. That's why I say it that way, because that's what he wanted. So it's going to this isn't over, but let's talk about this for a second, okay? Let's talk about Don Lemon and what's happening. So here it is, CNN reporting. Judge rejects Justice Department's initial attempt to bring charges against Don Lemon. Federal magistrate judge rejects the Justice Department's initial attempts to bring charges against Don Lemon for appearing alongside protesters who breached a Minnesota church over the weekend, a source told CNN. Yeah, probably one of the judge's sources, by the way. The attorney general is enraged at the magistrate judge's decision. A person familiar with the matter said, Attorney General Pam Bundy has been on the ground in Minnesota for 2 days, meeting with federal prosecutors from the state. Lemon, who is a former CNN host who now makes content independently, was with dozens of anti-immigration and custom enforcement protesters as they rushed into City's church in St. Paul's, Minnesota on Sunday morning, interrupting the church service, leading a tense confrontation. CNN reported Lemon has said that he was present at the demonstration as a journalist, Barbara Streisand, Bernie Sanders, and not a protester. That's why he got into the face of the preacher and was calling him out. In one video of the episode that he posted on YouTube, LaMonte says, "I'm just here photographing. I'm not part of the group. I'm a journalist. Except that you got into the face of the pastor and blasted him for not being a good Christian. So you weren't just part of it. You were involved in it." Now, PM Media, which is Jack Pusaic, is reporting this. New wife of judge who refused to sign off on Don Lemon's charges is assistant AG to Keith Ellison, who said in an interview he basically endorsed the tactics in an interview. This judge should be recused. Yeah, this is pretty wild right here, this connection. And wouldn't you be surprised? The magistrate who refused to sign off on charges brought by the Department of Justice against Don Lemon for storming into a church in St. Paul, Minnesota, has been identified as a magistrate Judge Douglas Macko, and his wife reportedly works as an assistant attorney general in Keith Ellison's office. Macko's wife, Caitlin Miko, however you say it, has also shown support for anti-ICE protesters on LinkedIn, according to the report from Human Events Daily. Jack Pusaic says right here, "I'm told the judge that refused to sign the criminal complaint against Don Lemon is a magistrate judge, Douglas Mako. His wife works for Keith Ellison as assistant AG and has anti-ICE posts on LinkedIn. After the DOJ set charges against Lemon for the alleged FACE Act violation, Mako reportedly refused to sign off on the charges. Lemon has denied involvement with the organizers who stormed." He's on video saying that he went out and reconned with the people, that they reconned where they were going to attack. So Lemon has denied involvement with the organizers who stormed the church in Minnesota, at least 3 of whom have been detained, including they've been charged. Nicomia Levy Armstrong, St. Paul board member, St. Paul school board member. She is former Black Lives Matter paid agitator. And this, whatever her name is, and somebody tried to tell me how to pronounce it, but whatever. Miss Allen, there you go. I can say that. And left-wing agitator William Kelly, and that's the bearded man. It says, breaking, U.S. magistrate judge refused. Anyways, we got all that. We talked about that already, so we're just going to move on. So they got to fill up a page, so they just keep repeating crap. Kind of like the story they did in the Sedalia Democrat about what's going on at the Lamont Firehouse. All he did was post my press releases. He did no commentary. I was like, come on, man. But that's okay. I don't care. That's fine. So that nobody reads that stupid paper anyways. I have all that too, by the way. Anyways, I can't talk about it. I want to talk about it. I want to just blast this dude with all the stuff that I know. But alas, I'm not Candace Owens. But if I was, you know. Anyways, back to the important news. Enough about me. Let's talk about me. The video of Don blasting a guy about facts. Yeah. Here you go. AG Pam Bundy. This guy was ranting on the internet, and he said, Pam Bundy vows to charge me for protesting a white supremacist. Because come get me. So Attorney General Pam Bundy says, okay. And this is the next picture. Yep. What you gonna do, bro? What you gonna do when they come for you? So he's busted. Let's see. Kash Patel responds and says this. A third suspect has now been arrested in connection with targeting City's Church in Minneapolis Sunday. William Kelly is now in custody. And then down here it says the second one. So they're just talking about who is being arrested. And there are 7. The number that I've seen out there is 7 indictments. So there's more coming to be arrested. We're not done here yet. I think they should arrest everybody who was in that room, everybody who charged in. Let's see here. Now, here's a statement from Pam Bundy about this, just so you know. Minutes ago, at my direction, HIS, HQ, and FBI agents executed an arrest in Minnesota. So far, we've arrested Miss Armstrong, who allegedly played a key role in the organizing of a coordination of the attack in St. Paul. We will share more updates when they come available. Listen loud and clear. We do not tolerate attacks on places of worship. And so that's the beginning of this. Mike says this. He says that Abraham Lincoln arrested and he signed the Insurrection Act. Judges, mayors, and governors. He also arrested political enemies in the media and deported them. They were American citizens. I'm about to say we should do that. But and then this chick, the Democrats have lost their minds, by the way. She comes down to the whole House floor and gives a speech about an anti-ICE speech, and it went a little something like this.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I would like to offer my impression of a congressional member owl who will not stand up to the unconstitutional acts of this administration. Who? Who, me? Everything's okay. I see the beatings on TV. I see ICE showing up at people's doors. I see what's happening, but I'm not getting in the way. I'm going to keep my head down. Thank you. I yield back.
Who, me? Lord, you're kidding, right? You're a sitting member of Congress and you're going to act this way? Oh, Lord have mercy. Here's Don Lemon just being a journalist before the attack on the church.
Tell us why you're doing this.
This is Operation Pull Up, more of a clandestine operation. We show up somewhere that is a key location. They don't expect us to come there, and then we disrupt business as usual. So that's what we're about to go do right now. Demanding justice for Renee Good and letting them know that this will not.
A key location. Why was this a key location? Because the preacher had the same name as an ICE officer. That's really what this is all about. And they were wrong, by the way. They got it wrong. Here's the judge that signed off, by the way, in case you want to know what he looks like. Here he is, right there. His black robe. Or refused to sign off. So here is well, I'm going to skip that one for time's sake. It's just them getting out and walking in. Who cares? Don Lemon responds, according to CBS, Justice Department currently looking for other alternatives to charge Don Lemon. Remember he said this earlier, just the other day?
You voted for, MAGA? You fucking idiots. Is this what you voted for? Why would you even want this job? Is your ego and your penis, are they that small that you feel that you have to harass people in order to feel like a man or to feel strong? Is this what you voted for? Is this what you voted for? Maybe it is. And if you did, then you're a cruel, heartless bastard. Clearly, what this administration is trying to get you to do is unlawful. It is inhumane. It is unpatriotic. And it is un-American.
He doesn't even know what a patriot is. Doesn't even know. And here's another story. That Armstrong chick. It says far-left agitator Miss Armstrong, who was one of the organizers of the storming of the church, Minnesota church, to protest ICE on Sunday, raked in over $1 million during 6 years, leading Minneapolis civil rights nonprofit that addressed anti-poverty issues. And it did help with anti-poverty, her poverty, but it did help. It did help. So anyways, that's good. We got that down. As long as we got that down, it's fine. Oh, I got so much more to talk about today. It's going to be good. I think that's it on the well, no. Here we go, right here. I already talked about that. I'm sorry. I think that's all there is. Well, here you go. Mugshots. Anybody want to see their mugshots just for the fun of it? Here you go. Oh, that face you make. Oh, what a crazy dude. This dude's a nut job right here. Yeah, there you go. That's what you get. I hope they enjoy those yellow jumpsuits because I have a feeling they're going to be wearing them a while. Of course, there's people right here in LaMonte, Missouri saying the same thing about me. In reality, I was just responding to the accusations of a former disgruntled employee and a Candace Owens of Pettis County when they were trying to accuse somebody else. And I just took the pressure off him and put it on me. And now they're accusing me when I had zero to do with it to begin with. Just, these people are insane. Okay, let's start with this one. So another attack that they're doing. So yesterday, day before, ICE arrested this man, and there was a little child, 5-year-old child, and the lefties are going nuts.
So now ICE is using a 5-year-old boy. A 5-year-old boy. They took him and used him to lure his father out. And now they've detained them both. The family doesn't know where they are. This is the worst of the damn worst. This is not humanity in Minnesota, folks. If you can look at this 5-year-old and actually with a straight face still support and be silent in the face of what the Trump administration and Kristi Noem is doing, I just can't even believe this is America. I will not vote for a damn penny to Kristi Noem or ICE in this Congress. This is a time where we should all be outraged. If this doesn't pierce through your humanity as a Republican member of Congress, you can't speak out about this, then you've got no humanity left.
Well, let's speak about it. Shall we speak about it? Oh, by the way, silver right now is at $100.06. Just letting you know. And gold's at $4,955. Just letting you know. Just letting you know. Here's Kamala Harris's response. Lame Ramos is just a baby. He should have been home with his family and not used as bait by ICE and held in the Texas detention center. But I thought we didn't know where he was. Oh, but there's more to this story. I'm outraged, Kamala Harris says, while taking another sip of scotch. You should be too. Yeah. 5,000 missing migrant children. Democrats say nothing. A child in custody after a fugitive dad abandons him. Oh, there's more to the story? They're all over that one. There's more to the story? What do you mean fugitive? What are you talking about, Willis? Yeah, there's more to that story. There's definitely more to that story. Aberdeen Aberdeen. I can't ever get it. AAG Dillon responds to Don Lemon. Don Lemon says American AF Don Lemon dares Pam Bundy to try and arrest him again. I stand proud and I stand tall. Keep trying. Diminish my voice. And she says, okay. Expect something to happen today. I'm just saying.
Reported having a negative net.
Expect something to happen today on that front. I knew there was another one of those I needed to get to. Okay, now here, ladies and gentlemen. So we got this kid, and he's being held hostage by ICE to get his daddy. Here is the rest of the story. Fox News.
McLaughlin, who was with the Department of Homeland Security, she said the father had asked the child to go with him so they could stay together. And now both of them apparently are in this detention facility in Dilley, Texas.
Yeah, Tricia McLaughlin put it on
Tricia McLaughlin.
Yeah,
I said Linda.
Yeah, it says the Biden administration says that as the agents approached Adrian Alexander Cohendo Arias, he fled on foot and abandoned the kid. For the child's safety, one of the ICE officers remained with the child while the other officers apprehended the guy. The officers made multiple attempts to get the alleged mom who's inside to take the kid, but she wouldn't open the door, didn't want the kid. Now, maybe it's not the mom. I don't know. They say alleged mom. So the father said, I want the kid, the 5-year-old, my son, with me, the 5-year-old. I'm not sure if a boy or girl. And then the neighbor said, no, leave the kid with us. But if the dad says, I want the kid with me, so right now the kid is in detainment with the dad in other situations, and they're over in Texas at this point.
Todd Lyons spoke to Laura Ingraham last night about this.
Once again, mainstream media and the left has the facts totally wrong and don't listen to us or report what we have to tell them. So the target of this operation was this boy's father. They went to pull the car over, and the father ran. He abandoned that child. So our officers and agents, they stayed behind with that poor 5-year-old who was frightened at the time because his dad just took off and ran. We caught the dad. We took both of them into custody. The dad opted to go and be removed with his son, which is what ICE wants. We want families to return back to their home country on their own, right, together as a family unit. We didn't separate them. We didn't put them in, foster care or anything like that. But again, now we're turning it out that ICE is arresting kids at schools. ICE is arresting kids at daycare. This 5-year-old's left out in the cold. Absolutely not. Father of the year took off on a foot chase because he did not want to be arrested and go back to his home country.
Okay, the man's lawyer, Mark Prokish, says Liam and his dad did enter the United States at a port of entry to seek asylum through the CBP One app. They used the app. They made an appointment. They came to the border and presented themselves to Customs and Border Protection. They were just trying to secure safety from persecution for their family, from their home country. These are not illegal aliens.
Well, under this administration, most likely their day in court will result in them going back. But were they waiting to go to court? Were they doing everything?
Sounds like it was
it sounds like they were doing things according to the Biden rules. And it looks like ICE was going to scoop him up, and now they're going to expedite his situation.
And of course, if he should not be scooped up and returned to his home country, he's yet another victim of an open borders crisis where you have to go and collect millions of people who are in the country illegally and deport them. And among them are a bunch of criminals. They're just another 2 victims in this whole crazy political plot by.
So there you have the rest of the story. And what they're not telling you in the media is that the kid was used by the dad, not by the. And now he's in a detention facility waiting to be deported with his dad. So he's going to go with his dad. It'll be fun. It'll be fine. Nothing to worry about here. So that's the rest of the story. Let's see what else we can make sure I ain't missing nothing. Right. Donald Trump says this, by the way, this is one of the QAnon folks are all excited about. Record cold wave expected to hit 40 states. Rarely seen anything like it before. Could the environmental insurrectionists please explain what happened to global warming? Well, you see, I can explain this one to you. I can actually answer this question scientifical. I can use my scientifical knowledge and answer this question. You see the sun, the big fireball in the sky, actually has ramifications for the warming and cooling of the earth. I know it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. And the sun goes through 100, they're not really sure, it could be 1,000-year cycles too, but 100-year cycles, 50-year cycles, and 30-year cycles, and 10-year cycles. Right now, we're in the midst of an end of a 30 and 10-year cycle. Well, actually, that started about 2010. So what does that mean? That means that the sun goes through these cycles, right? And especially the 30-year cycles of becoming more active and hotter and less active and cooler, okay? For the last several years, there's been very low activity of the sun, which this year, though, we've noticed there's been lots of coronal mass ejection and the sun's starting to heat up because we went down in the 30-year, was about 15 years, right? Now we're going to start going back up, but it has a collective ramification on the earth as far as the temperatures, heating and cooling. So we got 53 inches of snow in Sedalia, Missouri in 1979 or 78. In 1979, 78, they were telling us, oh, golly gee willikers, we're going into an ice age. You read Time magazine, the world's going to freeze. All the coastlines are going to flood because the world's going to freeze. There's going to be a bunch of ice causing the water to rise. But then they had to change their mind because it started heating up after that. It did. 80s, 90s, global warming. Al Gore going, the coastlines are going to flood because the ice is going to melt. But I thought the ice being there was going to, which way does it go? It doesn't matter which way it goes. Probably the same store, Chris. So let's do 78. Let's just round it up to 80. Look at 80, 90, 2000s. It's 2010 or so that they're saying that it's changing. We're in the middle of it right now, of a cooling trend of the sun. It's going to start warming back up. 30-year cycles, 50-year cycles, 100-year cycles. Go back to the Great Ice Age, or the Little Ice Age, back in the 1400s. So yeah, anyways, just wanted to touch on that. We're going through these cycles, and that's why the earth is now cooler than it was, or temperatures are cooler than it was a few years ago, and it'll happen again. It'll go back and forth because that's what it does. I know it's amazing that the big ball of fire in the sky, when it gets warmer, the earth gets warmer, and when it gets cooler, the earth gets cooler. I mean, but told me I was going to be a new ice age, and he's logical. Oh, Spock, back in the 70s, I forgot about that. You're right. With the music in the background, it's played on, and the old film is kind of rotting, stretching a little bit, so the music in the background is going. Please send Army to Canada. Mike, it's cold in Canada in the winter. Really? It's cold in Canada. You could have just left it at that. Things may change a bit when the poles shift. Are you talking about the planet or your Friday and Saturday night escapades? I'm just wondering. I'm just messing with you, Tard. Mike, stop it. You're being bad. Shame on you, Mike. How dare you? How dare you? Okay, so let's shift gears now. Something else crazy. So there was hearings yesterday, and we're going to talk about the hearings too. So there was hearings yesterday. Let me see where the first one of these are. And Jack Smith was testifying. I want to testify. He was testifying at the hearings yesterday, but there was a sideshow going on at the hearings yesterday, and we're going to talk about it just because, well, and we're it's some crazy stuff. I mean, stuff I was not on my bingo card. I'm just saying. So y'all know who Michael, I think it's Michael Fanone. Is that his name? Y'all know who he is? Am I saying his name right? Do you know who he is? Anyways, that kind of doesn't make sense. But anyways, he's the cop that Nancy Pelosi gave a medal to, that I think he got the Presidential Medal of Freedom too. He's the cop that was the one to testify before January 6th about how scared and terrible. Oh my God, I thought I was gonna die. I was gonna die. He's the one big burly guy with all the tattoos and face tattoos, supposedly a cop. Mm-hmm. Nancy Pelosi and all that was using him. Yeah, that guy. That's who I'm talking about. So anyways, he decided he was going to show up to the Jack Smith hearing to I guess watch it. I don't know. Also at the hearing was a J6er. Let's see here. And Ein, how do you say his name? Ein something or another. Anyways, y'all seen him. He does his thing now. I'm looking for the post. I am not finding it. It's right around Mike Pence. See, Mike Pence has come out and said that I think it's right there. Yeah. Mike Pence has come out and said that that we need to get rid of all the tariffs because the tariffs are really causing a problem. You know, Mike Pence is so far out of it. It's not even funny. It's not even fun. We're going to find a lot out about Mike Pence, I think, in the very near future. The same one who left his gun in the bathroom. I don't know. Did he? How do you say it? Rankin? Yeah, you're right. That's him. That's what I'm talking about. So anyways, so here it is right here. Here's the first. So this is the Ein, and this is Michael right here. And watch this. In the hearing.
No shame. Treating these people that way. My children went to the audience, went down, raped my children, raped my
children, and saying that this guy raped his children or something. So that's crazy. They're hammering, trying to get control of the chamber. Here's that what I said about Mike Pence. Here he is right here. This guy's so smug.
To address affordability, if you will, is to end this Liberation Day season of unilateral tariffs against friend and foe alike. I hold the view that the president's use of that authority is constitutionally questionable. I'm hopeful the Supreme Court will overturn the president's use of the tariff authority under the emergency statute. But there's no question when you look at the numbers that Bloomberg does better than anybody else in this economy. What's clear is that after 6 months of these tariffs imposed on some of America's leading trading partners, that American businesses and American consumers are paying American tariffs. We see the negative impact on jobs. We see the inflation, although they boast that it's not as bad as it used to be. The fact is, the reason why affordability has made its way into the political conversation is because the American people see it at the grocery store, and they're feeling it as consumers.
Here's my impression of Mike Pence, because he talks on his lips like this, doesn't really move his lips. Because, you know, it's all Donald Trump's fault that the prices are going up. Joe Biden had nothing to do with it. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the silver is trading at $99.81 and gold's at $49.47. And I can't move my lips because all the Botox or something. The fly buzzing around here. It's just, come on, man. He could have been president. Just think about that. Consider that for a minute. He's still angry the day he learned he'd never be president. Yep, he's never going to be president. That's for sure. Here is Donald Trump. I don't know if you've seen this, but oh no, that's not it. Canada's come out. The PM of Canada's come out boldly against Trump, and so Donald Trump responds with this: "Dear Prime Minister Curry, whatever his name is. What's his name, Aaron? What do you call him? Numbnut, something like that. Please let the letter serve as to represent that the Board of Peace is withdrawing its invitation to you regarding Canada's joining what will be the most prestigious board of leaders ever assembled at any time. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America." Let's get back to Fanone.
Big time today.
Let's get back to Fanone. Here is Bannon interviewing Ein Rankin, or however you say his name.
I was just there attending to basically analyze what Jack Smith was going to do and speak about and see how the Republicans were going to treat him as a witness. And then I saw immediately that the 4 key witnesses on what I call the January 6th Fedsurrection Cover-Up Committee that Pelosi utilized, Fanone, Dunn, as referenced by Troy Nehls, were sitting present. So during the break, I ended up sitting in the middle where I normally sit, right behind the witness, in order to gain more attention on the actual hearing. Because most people don't have the stamina, wherewithal to watch a hearing, but sometimes when I'm there, it increases viewership, hopefully. And I saw Mr. Fanone, and I put my hand out. You saw the entire exchange. I put my hand out and I said, "Michael, Ivan Raiklan." And he immediately went into meltdown mode. I don't know, maybe there needs to be a new verb known as Fanoning out, because he clearly has no dominion over his emotional state. He's a danger to society. He was a danger on January 6th. Imagine this, if he acts in this manner in a professional hearing in the halls of Congress with total disregard, not only of the hearing, but he also effectively assaulted the female U.S. Capitol Police officer that was trying to restrain him, along with his 3 colleagues, if you will, or cohorts in the Fedsurrection. I agree with Julie Kelly, and I think, thank you for posting this, Julie. I know we've had our differences, but my goal is to get to the truth and expose it. And I may do it in a manner that most people are not comfortable with, but it's to move the Overton window. And when I'm in person, I'm always going to maintain my calm, cool, and professional demeanor. And I'm happy that I had the opportunity to juxtapose the way I comported myself with a completely unhinged animal, if you will, that was a Metropolitan Police Department officer that has a history of committing violence.
So hang on. So Colonel, explain to me, just get the timeline. When Nehls has done a deep dive investigation of this. And Nehls, I think, is like a former sheriff or police officer. He's a very serious guy. I think he's not going to run this time. His twin brother, I think, is going to run for his seat. But he's a very serious guy, particularly on police activity. And he's done a deep investigation of this. When he specifically called him out and said, "Hey, it's the Capitol Hill Police got a lot to answer for here," and Fanone basically said "F off" and didn't hide it that much. Why was Fanone not removed? Why was he not removed immediately from the room? You can't do that in a congressional hearing. I've never seen that happen before.
I expected for him to be removed and not to return after he had that interaction with myself, because it took many to restrain him. U.S. Capitol Police officers came up to me and said, "Hey, sir." I said, "I'm fine. I'm just standing here." I tried to be professional with him, and then I sat down. And he continued to escalate. And then when he went after and disrupt, and that's a clear disruption. Had I done that, that would have been an instant removal of me out of the room and an immediate arrest. And then he starts laying down this defamation, claiming that I went after him and his children. I've never threatened a single person. I shine light and I expose people, but that's not illegal. That's just me exercising my First Amendment to the maximum. One thing about Troy Nehls I want to mention here is that I like calling balls and strikes. I get it. Troy Nels, over the years, I've been talking to him, and we've been trying to expose the U.S. Capitol Police's role in the Fed's direction, which more and more people are starting to see how that's played out. But what he did at the last hearing, the first January 6th Select Subcommittee, when he essentially said that the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys were the ones that caused what happened on January 6th, he may not know that the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys are co-defendants in 2 civil lawsuits against the President of the United States, Donald Trump. So when Troy Nels says that the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys are doing that and are essentially guilty, he's doing 90% of the Liz Cheney talking points along with Jamie Raskin and Mr. Moskowitz. So I think he needs to correct himself and immediately recant that, because that is going to be used if the Democrats take over in November. In the next Congress, they're going to use the commuted Oath Keepers and Proud Boys to get Donald Trump for insurrection. Right now, they're in pause mode. I think the cleanest way for President Trump to make that moot would be to pardon both the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys. Mind you, none of them were violent or accused of violence that day, except for maybe one Proud Boy, which actually committed and was charged with less violent than the 200 plus that were pardoned for alleged violence.
Colonel, hang on for a second. I want to make sure we get up here in the testimony. Correct me if I'm wrong, but your point about them taking over in November and we get back into the cycle is not just Ivan, trying to get traction or trying to get traffic or viewers. The Democrats teed it up today, and Jack Smith said, "Hey, yeah, this thing is not over yet." I mean, they fully intend. Obviously, they fully intend to come after President Trump if they take the House of Representatives in November. Is there any doubt in your mind about that?
I think it already started on Saturday in Virginia. The lawfare that Jack Smith, I think Jack Smith's testimony here fuels the Abby Spanberger, the John Brennan lackey Abby Spanberger, and her violent rhetorical Attorney General Jay Jones to go ahead and conduct lawfare against this administration that lives or works in Virginia in order to protect John Brennan. I mean, I think they may also have had probably a role in the removal of Lindsey Halligan. All of this interplays, in my opinion. I don't have any direct evidence of it, but this is just my analytic understanding of all the key individuals as I put it all together. I think that lawfare escalates now in Virginia and then further continues beyond all measure if the Democrats win the House specifically come November. And like they've already done several assassination attempts. I don't expect them to go less than what they've done before. They've only shown a propensity over the last 11, 12 years to escalate into further political violence. And if Mr. Fanon is not arrested, I expect him to continue his rhetoric, and probably it will turn into violence.
This dude, and watching the way he acted, and I got several different angles of it. This dude is he's got some issues. I mean, this dude is not right in the head. Here's a funny one. Somebody put this meme together with the guy trying to pull back Mr. Fanon.
I've been really trying, baby, trying to hold back this feeling for so long. And if you feel like I feel, baby, come on. Oh, come on. Woo. Let's get it on. Let's get it on. Let's love, baby. Let's get it on. Sugar. Let's get it on.
Come on. There we go. Sometimes you got to have fun with it, because if you don't have fun with it, you're just going to cry about it. Here is another view. This is from Ian's own cell phone, I think.
Hey, Michael. Hey, what's up, buddy? Ivan Reitman. Why do you have to swear at me?
What's that?
Why do you have to swear at me?
Oh, dude, don't pretend like we're not mortal enemies. Go fuck yourself.
Well, why do you have to lose your cool like that?
I'm not
I've
losing
been
my cool.
always professional with you.
I'm not losing my cool.
Every
Fuck
single
yourself.
time I communicate
Fuck
with
yourself.
you,
You're a
I
traitor to
am
this
always
country. Fuck
professional
yourself.
with you.
Well,
And it requires other people to contain your Tourette's syndrome. Okay?
I'm not going to get through. You've threatened my family and you've threatened my
Oh,
life.
have
You're
I?
a traitor to this fucking country.
Why are
Go
you
fuck
so
yourself.
spasmodic?
Am I spasmodic?
Absolutely.
Fucking do
Look
something.
behind you.
Do something.
Why should I? I'm communicating with you. I'm trying to calm you down. Right? Look at your face and your face. You can't even control yourself. You can't even be a man.
Trust me, I'm using a lot
You
of
see how
respect, by
many
the way.
people are constraining you? Look at me. Total control over my mind and body. Total control over my mind and body, and I'm totally dominating you right now.
Sir.
Totally dominating you right now.
Sir, let's step aside.
I'm not.
This guy has threatened my family, threatened my children, threatened to rape my children.
Oh, really?
Rape my
now?
children, you sick
Look
bastard.
at him.
Rape my children.
More people need to contain him because I'm completely calm, sir. Always calm. Listen.
I don't know what that whole steroid rage or alcoholic anger syndrome, I guess, maybe. Who is which guy? Which guy are you referring to? Donald Trump says this. There's some Omar news, some stuff happening with Omar. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is worth over $30 million. There's no way such wealth could have been accumulated legally while being paid the salary of a politician. She should be investigated for financial and political crimes, and that investigation should start now. And I bet you there's hearings already into it.
One thing
For sure. There's hearings into it. Donald Trump also says this, and we're going to get to some of this testimony here in a minute. Based on his testimony today, there's no question that deranged Jack Smith should be prosecuted for his actions. He destroyed the lives of many innocent people, which has been the history of a prosecutor at a minimum. He committed large-scale perjury. We're going to get into that one too in just a minute. The tattooed man, that's Michael Fanone. He's a former Capitol police officer, the one Nancy Pelosi praised, the one that was one of the lead testimonies in the impeachment trials against Donald Trump and the J6 committee. And I think he got the Presidential Medal of Freedom too. That's who that is. That's who that is. In case you didn't know, because someone was asking. So is this the one? Let me see. I've got several here, and I want to see. No, this is not the one. So I'm not going to replay the same video over again, except that I have one at a different angle. Let me find it because it's important, because I want you to see the shirt that Michael Fanone walked into. Here he is, by the way. Let's see. Is this it right here? No. Where's it at? I don't want to miss it. Oh, here's some more Ilhan Omar. Let me do this because I'm going to do both of them at the same time for save time. Here's on Mace the Nation. Just want to remind you.
I want to pick up on where the Treasury Secretary just left off. He alleged that people who were tied to you or your campaign were involved in this broad, brazen scheme to rip off the Minnesota state welfare system. Do you want to respond to that? Do you know what he is referring to?
I really don't, and I don't think the secretary himself understands what he's referring to. We obviously had people who were able to donate to our campaign that were involved. We sent that money back a couple years ago. And actually, I was one of the first members of Congress to send a letter to the Secretary of Ag asking them to look into what I thought was a reprehensible fraud that was occurring within the program.
So there's more Omar. Fanone just posted on a podcast, the left needs a Second Amendment ICE. He's calling for an insurrection. So here's Michael Fanone in the hearing. This is Representative Troy Nels, Texas, during the J6 committee, and he talks about Michael Fanone, and he talks about how he is now on the new J6 committee, and mentions, and watch what Fanone does.
I would like to quickly address the police officers of January 6th. Mr. Don, Mr. Fanone, Mr. Gonell, Mr. Hodges. I'm a member of the new select committee to actually examine what happened that day. And I can tell you, gentlemen, that the fault does not lie with Donald Trump. It lies with Yogananda Pittman and the U.S. Capitol leadership team. We know they had the intelligence, and there was going to be a high probability for violence that day. Claim my time, yeah.
You will be in order. The time belongs to the gentleman from Texas. We've had some disruptions already. We don't need that. Let the gentleman may continue.
We know the Capitol leadership team, specifically Yogananda Pittman, had the intelligence, and there was going to be a high propensity.
If that was any other person, he would have been removed and probably pressed charges. You cannot do that in these hearings, but he probably is there shielded by somebody brought him in. You have to be invited in. So he's probably there shielded. Here he is in a photograph. There's something wrong with this dude. Something wrong with this dude. And it needs to be answered for it. Now, I've got one more video, and I think I got the video here. Is this the one? Yes, this is the one. I'm not going to play the whole video. I want to get where I can see his back. There, right there. This is the shirt he wore in, mind you, everybody else is in a suit and tie, decorum, except maybe, the media types. But everybody else, this is the shirt he wore. It's a shirt he chose to wear. Fighting Nazis since, and it's a year. I can't see the year. Fighting Nazis.
Reporting.
So what he's saying. Here is Fox News on Ilhan Omar's wealth.
Net worth. In 2019, back in 2019, her household income, her household net worth has gone up from $0 to $30 million, and the value of her husband's company, Roselake Capital, has gone from some small amount of money up to $25 million. So apparently, it really does pay to get into politics.
Well, I don't know what she's doing, but I suspect that it's not legal. Who knows? You don't see that kind of change. I mean, she reported on her disclosures around here about a $65,000 net worth just a couple of years back. And now, like you point out, Charlie, she's reporting it's $30 million. Look, Ilhan Omar is a hateful, racist anti-Semite who goes on national TV and plays the victim and goes to the University of Minnesota campus and essentially encourages violence on Jewish students. This needs to be investigated. She was right at the center of the Somali fraudster operation called Feeding Our Future, the $250 million fraud case, largest pandemic fraud case in the country. Those are her people, and they're the ones that donated to her campaign. Right. So
she's being Omar, I told you a month ago, Omar will not be deported. She will be sent to prison for a while, a long time before she gets out. You can write that down. Omar is going to jail. Now, here is, let's see where we did that one. Here is Michael Fanone as he's walking into the hearing today. Notice he has a jacket on to cover up his shirt because they probably would not have let him in that shirt. But listen to what he says to this reporter at Info Babe.
Officer Fanone, how are you today?
Oh, I'm great.
What happened in there?
What are you talking about?
That confrontation.
Jack Smith testified
No,
about how he had proof beyond reasonable doubt that Donald Trump incited, orchestrated, and funded the insurrection at the Capitol on January 6, 2021.
It seemed like there was a fight in there.
No, there was no fight.
Is it true, Officer Fanone, that you turned off your own body camera on January 6th?
No.
I saw your body cam. You turned it off yourself. You were playing dead. I saw your body cam footage.
You're a fucking
What am I?
right-wing conspiracy theorist.
I saw you turn off your body cam footage, sir. But thank you for disrespecting me. Psychopath. Officer Fanone, how are you today?
I'm great.
What happened in there?
What are you talking about?
That confrontation.
Jack Smith testified about how he had proof beyond reasonable doubt that Donald Trump incited, orchestrated, and funded the insurrection at the Capitol on January 6, 2021.
It seemed like there was a fight in there.
No, there was no fight.
Is it true, Officer Fanone, that you turned off your own body camera on January 6th?
No.
I saw your body cam. You turned it off yourself. You were playing dead. I saw your body cam footage.
You're a fucking...
I was playing twice. I was dealing with it. Something froze up over here. I was dealing with it in the background. I wasn't paying attention. Yeah. So I saw your body cam. And he's like, his answer is that you're a effing a right winger, blah, blah, blah. So your words don't apply, basically, because you're a effing right winger. Yeah. That's the way that it works. Now, here's Ilhan Omar being questioned as she's going in after it was announced that they're investigating her. And, you know, she's usually full of words. And, well, here you go.
Congresswoman, can you tell us what your response is to the Oversight Committee launching an investigation into your net worth, you and your husband's net worth? They're claiming that it's risen rapidly. What's your response to what they're saying? Do you think they'll find anything in their investigation into your net worth? What's your response to what you've seen from ICE in Minneapolis? You said you're going to go to not fund DHS, the whole department, or just ICE? Congresswoman, can you tell us what your response is to the Oversight Committee launching an investigation into your net worth, you and your husband's net worth? They're claiming that it's risen rapidly. What's your response to what they're saying?
I'm still dealing with it. Notice he's not saying anything. Well, yeah, I don't know. You got anybody else having problems on my other computer? The video feed's not playing. It's weird. Seems like you guys are still being able to watch it over on Rumble. If you're watching on Facebook or whatever, it's probably fine, but it's not playing. I don't know what the deal is. Anyways, my mouse is freezing up. Everything's going wrong. Stop. Anyways, I wanted to play those two videos. Now we're going to get into the hearing, and like I said, I might go long today. I knew I would, trying to cover all this. But they had the hearings, and they had Jack Smith. Now, mind you, Jack Smith is already given deposition. And we'll start with this. I'll skip some. Here is the first video I have.
The cases against Donald Trump were dismissed pursuant to department policy.
Department policy, the Office of Legal Counsel said if somebody's president, you can't bring a charge against them or they can't be held liable. Is that correct?
That's correct. There had not been a case of this nature ever where someone was elected president with charges pending, and so that was slightly different. So we consulted with with the Office of Legal Counsel, and they determined pursuant to policy that the cases needed to be dismissed.
And you weren't pleased with that, but you had to follow the law, and that's what you did.
We followed policy throughout my investigation. My job was not to set policy. My job was to follow it, and that's what we did.
I want to thank you for your service. I think you're a great American, and you came out of this as being somebody who people can respect and look up to in a fashion that we should be instilling people's desire to go into justice, to go into law, and to go into government. You're an example of the type of person they should follow. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields it back. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Mr. Smith, there's something that's really bothering me since your deposition. It's how and why you got the position of special counsel and your personal relationship with Marshall Miller. Let's go back to 1999 when you were working for the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York. Is that when you first met Marshall Miller?
Yes.
So after ED New York, did the two of you ever work together again prior to becoming special counsel? According to the public bios for you and Mr. Miller, you overlapped at DOJ from 2014-15 when you were chief of DOJ's public integrity section and Mr. Miller was chief of staff for DOJ's criminal division. Is that accurate?
I believe that is accurate, yes.
Okay, so were the two of you social outside of work?
I would say intermittently, yes.
Okay, but after 20 years of knowing each other, it's safe to say you were friends, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's fast forward to 2022. Mr. Miller is appointed Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General at DOJ, the number 3 at DOJ. You call your friend to congratulate him, and according to the deposition transcript, you say you'd be interested in a position at DOJ. Is that correct?
Yes. What I recall is that I expressed an interest if the right position came up, I would be interested in.
But at that point, there's no discussion about special counsel. Is that correct?
So they're going to get to the bottom of whether or not he was legally sworn in. Now, mind you, this guy is a career government lawyer in one form or another. So let's just watch as some of these questions unfold. Mind you, he's already given sworn testimony.
I don't recall the specifics of it. I know I was sworn in. I don't recall the specifics of how that was done.
You don't remember who swore you in?
I don't.
Would you agree that taking the oath of office is a legal requirement for the job that you had?
He doesn't remember when, where, or who swore him in. Now, October 12th, 1989, down at MEPS in LA, I remember swearing in. Same kind of swear-in ceremony, as a matter of fact. Anybody swears into government service. Shortly thereafter, I was on a plane to Fort Dix, New Jersey. What a wonderful time that was. Anyways, I digress. Let's continue.
I've taken oaths of office regularly. I haven't researched whether it's required or not, but I have done that, I think, in every government case.
It is required. Terms I heard earlier today were atypical, irregular, no proper procedure. Yet in your opening statement, you said that we followed Justice Department policies, and I would assume you meant the law as well. It strikes me as odd that you don't remember who swore you in, how you were sworn in. It's pretty significant. We all get sworn in here, and I remember every day. You don't remember who swore you in.
I don't remember the details of it as I sit here today.
But you did take the oath of office before you got rolling.
I think my recollection is it was when I was appointed.
It was when. It strikes me as odd that Attorney General Garland had you retake the oath of office on the 14th of September of the following year. Why did he make you do that?
As I sit here right now, I do not recall. I know that there is the oath of office that I signed. I believe it was on the 18th, the day that I was appointed. And I know the department had me do a second one. I don't know the particulars of why they asked me to do it again, but I know
you signed it on the 20th of November 22nd, November 2022, but there was no witness, which, I mean, you have to agree it's a little odd. If there's no witness saying that you took the oath of office, it would maybe make someone like me question whether or not you were legitimately doing the job until you finally took the oath of office. It sounds like the Attorney General had the same question and thought, oh shit, we got to have him sign this on the 14th day of September of the following year. So why did you take the oath of office again on the 14th of September of the following year when you say you took the office in November of 2022? Why'd you need to do it twice?
My recollection is that I took the oath of office, as you said, it was the 18th or the 20th, and felt I was under the oath of office. I believe, if you have it in front of you, I think I signed an oath.
You signed it, but there was no witness. There was supposed to be either notarized or a witness. And apparently Attorney General Garland thought it was significant enough.
So here's this guy who only a few years ago just can't remember when he raised his right hand, put his hand on the Bible or whatever God or maybe he put a on the satanic, I don't know, Saul Lewinsky's Rules for Radicals or something. Boy, things are happening. All of a sudden, all my messages, wow, I don't know what's going on. Oh, now they're back. I don't know what's going on. Things are crazy around here on my computers. But anyways, he doesn't remember that. But I remember 1989 when I swore in. All you guys in the comment section, I was just about to look and comment about some of y'all, and they're gone. I don't know. Anyways, in the comment section, commenting that you remember when you signed up in 1986 or whenever it was you signed up. Weird. 30 some odd years ago, 37 years ago, I can remember signing up, but this guy can't remember 2 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was. It's weird. I don't know. It's amazing how that happens. Here's Eric Swalwell, basically getting on his knees before the great and mighty Jack Smith. Eric Swalwell, who, by the way, is under investigation right now in the state of California for mortgage fraud or not being eligible to be a congressman. Well, actually not being eligible to run for governor, but it'd be the same thing.
I was shocked. I was shocked by it. I obviously, being in Europe and not following things as closely, I was not, frankly, up to speed on the events leading up to it.
What shocked you about it?
I just never seen anything like that happen in our country.
Mr. Smith, I don't know if I'll ever have the honor to talk to you again. If I don't, please know that I and my colleagues on the Democratic side, and even my Republican colleagues when they speak privately, have nothing but respect and appreciation for what you tried to do and how you did it. You, unlike many here.
Anyways, he goes on to praise him, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? But it's the worst thing I ever seen. What I saw, oh my gosh. Boy, they really go after. He really steps in it. Here's another one that Donald Trump says this. Deranged Jack Smith is being decimated before Congress. It was over when they discussed his past failure and an unfair prosecution. He destroyed many lives under the guise of legitimacy. Jack Smith is a deranged animal who shouldn't be allowed to practice law. If he were a Republican, his license would have been taken away from him, and far worse. Hopefully, the Attorney General is looking at what he's done, including some of the crooked and corrupt witnesses that he was attempting to use in his case against me. The whole thing was a Democrat scam. A big price should be paid by them for what they have put the country through. And watch this.
That was in.
So Jim Jordan just goes a little bit. Here's a little bit of Jim Jordan going after him.
That was in the letter and the spirit of the Constitution. I find that hard to believe. And you know why? Because the public integrity section at the Justice Department has now changed its policy. You can't do this anymore. They've changed their policy, but it was okay for Jack Smith to do it because we got to get Trump. We got to get the president. That's what this was all about. Yield back to the gentleman from Alabama.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman,
so he's talking about that the DOJ changed his policy. They changed the policy to allow Jack Smith to do what he did at going after the Trump, and then they changed the policy and said we can't do that no more. Now this is I think this is Jack Smith. Where are we at? Okay, I think Laura Lee, Republican Laura Lee. And this is straight up getting into the weeds, but I think it's pretty good.
with the statement that DOJ charging policies require prosecutors to bring charges only where the admissible evidence is expected to be sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction. Is that right?
That is correct. That's from the federal principles of prosecution.
And in this case you brought against President Trump, one of the charges you pursued was under Title 18, Section 371, which requires an agreement to interfere with the lawful function of the United States through deceit or dishonesty that the defendant knowingly and intentionally joined, and an overt act. And what I'd like to ask you about is this. So you would agree that Section 371 requires dishonesty or deceit and also proof that a criminal defendant acted knowingly and intentionally. Is that right?
I believe that's correct. It requires knowing deceit targeted a lawful government function.
So you would then also agree, would you not, that opinion, disagreement, or even mistake is insufficient to satisfy the burden of criminal intent set forth in that statute?
A mistake certainly would. We needed to prove and intended to prove at trial that the false statements that Donald Trump made were knowingly false.
That they were false and that it was done knowingly. So even under your theory of the case, even if we took your facts as true, you still would have been required to prove that the president said something false and that he or did it knowingly. So going on to your next charge, let's talk about obstruction. There too, that charge requires proof of wrongful intent, does it not?
That's correct.
So if a defendant there actually believes a factual claim is true, that would mean he could not be convicted of that charge. Isn't that right?
Well,
not correctly convicted.
The defendant for that charge would have to behave corruptly, and corruptly could include seeking an unlawful benefit, seeking a benefit to benefit themselves, in this case, to stay in office when they had in fact not won the election.
But there too, there's a requirement of intent that this conduct must be knowing and intentional. Isn't that right?
There is an intent requirement, yes.
And didn't you also acknowledge in your deposition that the president was receiving information from multiple advisors, Giuliani, Eastman, Clark, Powell, and in your deposition, you said he was almost just regurgitating what they told him. Isn't that right?
I don't believe I said he was regurgitating what they told him. I think what I said is that he was making knowingly false claims, that he was believing anything that would.
Reason he's using the wording, I don't believe, I think, in those kind of, on all these statements, is because he cannot remember what he said in the deposition. Now, when you tell the truth is the truth, and he can say the truth every time the truth is asked for. When you tell lies, it's hard to remember what you said, which is why he's saying, I think, I believe, and so they can't catch him in a perjury trap, which is what this is all about.
In office, and he was rejecting
anything. You would agree that those people, or some people, were giving the president conflicting advice at that time, would you not?
You're correct in that his original campaign staff told him he had lost. He fired them and brought in people who would.
But criminal liability under the statutes you used in your indictment requires proving intent, not simply the undermining of democratic norms or expressing an opinion with which you do not agree. So is it not correct, sir, that here you charged 2 intent-based crimes without any direct proof whatsoever that the conduct charged was knowing, intentional, or that you were going to have an adequate basis to sustain a conviction at trial?
I felt we had proof beyond a reasonable doubt. I felt that that proof included direct testimony from a number of witnesses to prove the knowing falsity of his claims.
Despite the fact that in your own deposition you acknowledge the existence of conflicting advice. If this defendant were anyone other than Donald J. Trump, Mr. Smith, I find it hard to believe that we would be sitting here today having a hearing about an indictment that was returned, knowing that the elements of the offenses could not be demonstrated. Now, let's talk about this. I assume you're also familiar with the Department of Justice policy that prohibits prosecutors from selecting the timing of investigative or prosecutorial actions for the purpose of affecting any election.
Yes, I am. That's the election year sensitivities policy, and we followed it in all respects. The public integrity section who administers that policy concurred that we followed it in all respects.
Mr. Chairman, my time has expired.
The gentlelady yields back. The chair recognizes the ranking member for UC.
So there, now understand that was a lot of in the weeds, but basically the policy in a court, you have to prove in the case they brought against Donald Trump that he was willingly, intentionally with knowledge. But she's saying he was getting advice from advisors that were paid government officials. Yeah, but he knew, he should have known. That's what this was all about. And she was saying that this in a court of law would not fly. It wouldn't fly. That's why it got dismissed in Florida, by the way, because it wouldn't fly. Okay, let me fast forward to go to it. Well, let me just stop right there because I'm going to talk about something else. So everybody's all worried. Nothing's ever happening. What is the prophecy given to you by Mike right here on the channel? Everybody knows Mike. Mike's not seeking fame or glory. The only place he talks really is right here in the chat room. He said that January is going to be fire. I don't remember your exact words, Mike. I'd have to look. But February is going to be worse. It's going to be crazier. And March is even going to be crazier. Okay? Trust me on this when I say the reason that Pam Bundy hasn't charged people is because Donald Trump wasn't ready yet.
He did stick in there, as President Trump is wont to do, that the 2020 election was stolen. And he said, hey, in a couple of days, there's going to be some developments you're going to hear about the prosecution of this. You've got a breaking story that gets to the heart of the deep state. That's a blockbuster. Can you take us through that?
First, what the president's talking about is some documents that are going to be declassified from Odie and I in the Justice Department, and some new indictments coming. So, as I said on your show last week, the machinery's finally ramped up. They're finally staffed, and you're going to start to see a significant wave of indictments. Pam Bondi's in Minneapolis. I think you will see some of the funders of these protests indicted soon for bank and tax criminality. So keep an eye on that. I think you're going to use the tax law like they did with Al Capone to go after these funding groups and say they said they were doing X, but they're doing Y, and that violates their tax status. So keep an eye on Pam Bondi in Minneapolis with Kash Patel. There isn't an accident. They landed on the ground there. It wasn't for optics. It was for indictments. And then I think you'll see some stuff on elections. Keep an eye on Tulsi Gabbard. She's been working on some really amazing declassifications that I think will blow all of our minds soon. And I think that's going to be a big moment.
More's coming. Get ready. More's coming. And then to add to that, there's this from Benny Johnson. Breaking. President Trump announces prosecutions are coming soon over the stolen 2020 election. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It's probably breaking news, but it should be. It was a rigged election. So we got stuff coming. Yeah, Smith's future is not in politics. No, it's in prison. It's in prison. That's his future. Inmate number whatever, however they do it. Right? So here's a few more. If we go a few minutes long, that's okay. Here's a few more. I've saved the best for last, by the way. I saved the best for last. Here's a few more of the Jack Smith hearing that prosecutions are slower than January molasses. This is true. I once asked, when all this stuff started kicking off, I asked my sister, who is in law enforcement in DA's office in some big city, California, and I don't want to throw her under the bus, so I'm going to say anything more than that. But I asked her, if you caught somebody red-handed, please show up at the door, and a guy just shot his wife. He's holding the smoking gun, his blood all over his hands. You caught him red-handed. How long does it take to bring the prosecution and the conviction and the whole thing wrapped up? And she said 2 to 5 years. 2 to 5 years. I mean, they got to get rid of the judges that won't file the charges. But that's coming, by the way. A massive purge by God is coming. So let's just watch Jack Smith. Here we go.
Recall the specifics of it. I know I was sworn in. I don't recall the specifics of how that was done.
You don't remember who swore you in?
I don't.
Would you agree
wait, I done did this one. Let me skip that one. We already did the swearing in part. It's not the one that I thought it was. Sorry about that. We done did the swearing in. Now we got to do the other stuff, because there is some other stuff. Let me get to it. I got like 2 or 3 more of these, and they're pretty good, so I want to make sure that I get them. Oh, right here. This is fire. This is Harriet Hagerman, Republican, Wyoming, and she just obliterates him.
Unturned, even subpoenaing records from sitting members of the House and Senate. So what information could the J6 committee possess that you and the nation's top law enforcement agency could not obtain on your own?
I did request J.P. Cooney.
What did they have that you couldn't obtain on your own?
In any investigation,
What information did they have that you were not able to obtain on your own?
I couldn't know that until I had their information.
Was there anything there? Did you find that they had information that you were not able to obtain?
I don't recall specifically every bit of information. What I can tell you is we took in their information because we wanted to collect any information that could be relevant. We made our own independent assessment of
Okay, so from the time that you were appointed as special counsel up to the date of your resignation in January of 2025, did you personally have any contact with any members, staff, or contractors of the House's January 6th Select Committee? And if so, who?
I do not believe I had contact with anybody personally from the January.
The January 6th committee failed to archive or preserve its video recordings of witness interviews, deleting or destroying as many as 900 interview summaries or transcripts involving more than 1 full terabyte of digital data. I repeat, the J6th committee destroyed evidence. Let that sink in. Why would they do such a thing? I think we have a dang good idea. The committee actually used selective clips from these videos and transcripts during their hearings, and yet by destroying this evidence, they have denied Congress and the public the ability to obtain their full content and context. They created their narrative by selective use of the evidence before them. So how very convenient. Did you or your team receive any of those witness transcripts or video recordings of transcribed interviews from the Select Committee that were not released to the public?
What I can tell you is that I requested J.P. Cooney to contact the Select Committee.
Do you know if you received any of the evidence or testimony that the J6 Committee eventually destroyed?
I don't have any information that the J6.
You don't know one way or the other as you sit here today.
No, what I'm telling you is that I requested all the information we could get from the January 6th.
Has all of the information that you requested been preserved? All of the information from the J6 committee, has that been preserved?
The information that we requested and received, we reviewed it.
Has it been preserved?
Yes, as part
Thank
of our
you.
files.
Were you or your team advised, or did you get the impression from anyone affiliated with the January 6th committee that these documents were not for public release, even though portions of them had already been shown to the American people? Were you advised to keep any of the information from the J6 committee confidential?
As I sit here right now, I don't recall that.
Okay.
I recall.
Did the J6 committee provide you with the Cassidy Hutchinson testimony as part of the trove of documents that you received?
As I sit here now, I don't recall, but it would.
Well, you're familiar with her testimony, aren't you?
I am. And
And in fact, wouldn't you agree with me that Ms. Hutchinson's testimony, especially the most explosive allegations made, was comprised of hearsay upon hearsay upon hearsay? Come on, you're an attorney, Mr. Smith. You can answer the question. Of course it was hearsay. And hearsay isn't admissible in a court of law, is it? Why? Because it is inherently unreliable and the victim or the target of a prosecution is not able to cross-examine. Isn't that correct? In fact, Mr. Smith, if you had attempted to walk into court with Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony, you would have been thrown out on your ear. No judge, no legitimate judge would have ever allowed the testimony of Cassidy Hutchins to be admitted in a court of law, would they?
I disagree.
Well, and then we've already talked about your record.
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady's time has long since expired.
The time of the gentlelady has expired. The gentleman from Florida.
Can I do one UC request first?
All right, so there is going after about Cassidy Hutchinson's. He tried to. I heard someone tells me that someone told them that he tried to steal the beast. You know, the big Cadillac deal. Totally BS. Totally Barbara Streisand and Bernie Sanders and the rest of it. Would never, ever happen in court. Here's another one.
Political speech, slap unlawful gag orders on a presidential candidate, and spy on Republican members of Congress in violation of the speech or debate clause, including the sitting Speaker of the House. Mr. Smith, you mishandled documents, pressured defense lawyers, and dumped a massive trove of so-called evidence right before the election. And you did it. You did it to sway voters. That's why you did it. And don't get me started on that raid at Mar-a-Lago or your unconstitutional appointment, which a federal judge in Florida rightly tossed out. A very bad day for you. This wasn't, Mr. Smith, about upholding the law. It was about tearing down President Trump and anyone close to him. You even tried to ram through a politically motivated final report after your cases collapsed, including the Presidential Transition Act and basic fairness. But here's the good part, America. Here's the good part. The American people saw right through it. They rejected, sir, your witch hunt loud and clear in November, handing President Trump a commanding victory. The voters spoke loud and clear. They wanted an end to the weaponization of our justice system. In your opening statement, you spoke about proof of beyond a reasonable doubt. Mr. Smith, I will give you proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Donald Trump winning the popular vote by over 2 million votes. The Electoral College by 85 votes, along with every single swing state. Now, sir, that is proof beyond a reasonable doubt that the crap you were shoveling did not pass the smell test with the American people. To put it bluntly, Mr. Smith, the stink remains on you. And lastly, I would like to quickly address the police officers of January 6th. Mr. Dunn, Mr. Fanone, Mr. Gonell, Mr. Hodges. I'm a member of the new select committee to actually examine what happened that day. And I can tell you, gentlemen, that the fault does not lie with Donald Trump. It lies with Yogananda Pittman and the U.S. Capitol leadership team. We know they had the intelligence and there was going to be a high propensity for violence that day. Claim my time, yeah.
You will be in order. The time belongs to the gentleman from Texas. We've had some disruptions already. We don't need that. Let the gentleman may continue.
We know the Capitol leadership team, specifically Yogananda Pittman, had the intelligence and there was going to be a high propensity for violence that day. And the Capitol itself was the target. We knew the extremist groups were going to be there. And why do I say that? It was your own report from your intelligence section, the IICD, which was run by Pittman, in the January 3rd special events section. It was in it. It was in it. And Mr. Dunn, I believe that you thought that day would be like just any other. in your testimony to the January 6th committee, you said you found out how ugly was going to get on a cell phone. Somebody sent you some information on social media. The point is, you were all unprepared to deal with that day. And that's because your leadership failed to share the intelligence with you. It was their fault, folks. It was their fault. It was not President Trump. And we are going to expose it for the first time because the Benny Thompson, the sham committee didn't do it.
Will the gentleman yield for a
The
question?
sham committee didn't do it. The report is 845 pages. Donald Trump's name is mentioned 4,207 times. We know what the committee wanted to do is to not allow Donald Trump to come back and win again. And they failed miserably. And I hope you now can see that. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield the balance to my distinguished colleague out of Jersey.
I just want to quickly go over something because we keep rewriting history. The president said peacefully and patriotically. What don't we understand about peacefully and patriotically? He asked for the National Guard. That was ignored. He asked Speaker Pelosi. What don't we understand that?
Will the gentleman yield for a question? Are you saying
No,
Nancy Pelosi controls the National Guard?
Wait a minute.
The president could have ordered the National Guard if he wanted to, and you know that.
Claim my time. I lost some of my time.
Time belongs to the gentleman from New Jersey. You have a few more seconds.
And finally, how many elected officials say we're going to fight to win an election? It's new terminology used all the time, seriously. And of course, if they were guilty, they should be prosecuted. The problem was there were many in the mix.
The unanimous consent. Gentleman yields back. The
And last thing, your hand gestures, Mr. Fanone.
No.
You need
The time of the gentleman
medication.
expired. The time of the gentleman expired. The audience will be in order. The committee will be.
That's what. So you saw the whole conversation there, where the FU and the flip off came from that I talked about earlier. That's why I played all that. Yeah, and you got rat skin back there going. Will you give me some time so I can ask you a question and try to defend, because we're really looking bad here, and none of them gave them any time. He tried to blurt it out anyways. They know they're toast. And now that's a good one. Those all that I played on that now, and I know a few minutes over, and I thank you for hanging out, because now we're going to get to the grand poobah. We're going to get to the total evisceration of not only Jack Smith, but the J6 committee and everything else that's happening. Chip Roy. I'm back and forth with Chip Roy, but here lately he's been pretty good. And today he destroys Jack Smith and the entire thing. And here we go. Joe Biden, the whole thing, the FBI, the DOJ, and the under Joe Biden, the whole thing gets destroyed right here.
Let me ask you this. Am I on this list? Did you target my records and subpoena my phone toll records?
My understanding is your records were subpoenaed by prosecutors before I became special counsel.
Well, staff would put this up on the screen. I'm thankful for the great staff who discovered the email where I learned for the first time a few weeks ago that my phone records were indeed targeted.
2 weeks ago.
We called AT&T and we've learned that they were given to the Department of Justice, as this email indicates, because I've been in communication with Scott Perry, one of my colleagues here in Congress, who literally had his phone taken from him in front of his family. And of course, as we've already talked about in this document, it talks about you could be in violation of the privilege by even obtaining and possessing this information if the member objected to the disclosure. This happened 4 years ago in May of 2022, and I couldn't object because I didn't know. I didn't know until about 3 weeks ago. My question here is, was there any limits to your investigation or the investigation that preceded you, Mr. Smith? Because as egregious as a violation of separation of powers this is, as an egregious and abuse of power it is, it's far more concerning you are clearly targeting American citizens for merely being conservative or supporting the president. We've got memos that we've already been talking about in this hearing from April 2022 that preceded you that establish and open the investigations, one of which has Attorney General Merrick Garland's signature on it. And the focus was the electors. Now, that was 6 months before you multiple times. Did you brief them on the electors and the prosecution of their supposed crimes?
I'm sorry.
Did you brief them on the electors and their supposed crimes?
I don't recall specific conversation sure, of course, of briefing them,
Wasn't that the purpose of the entire investigation as it was set out? Because putting aside that in 1960, it was already talked about, my friend, Mr. Tiffany, that Hawaii put forward an alternate slate of electors, the investigation pivoted to President Trump and, frankly, anybody who knew him. Do you know who Cleta Mitchell is?
Yes, I do.
She's an election lawyer that was involved in filing an election contest on behalf of President Trump in Georgia in December of 2020. A 64-page complaint with over 1,100 pages of exhibits, witness affidavits, and expert witness reports documenting thousands of votes cast in violation of Georgia law, but which were nevertheless included in the vote totals. Now, notwithstanding the disposition of the cases that was filed, is that a criminal act? Filing an election contest on behalf of a candidate for office, a client. Is that a criminal act? Yes or no?
No, in fact,
So why did you deem it appropriate to monitor Cleta Mitchell's long-distance phone records in 2023, 2.5 years after the election contest was filed and after the presidential electors were certified? What about Jen Ellis? What about Sidney Powell? What about Bill Sepien? What crime did you suspect had been committed by them that would warrant monitoring their phone records 2.5 years after the 2020 election was certified?
Look at the posture.
With respect to Sidney Powell, she is one of the co-conspirators alleged in the indictment. I don't know what you mean by monitoring, sir, if you're talking.
Well, there were some 400 plus Republican conservative groups and leaders who were targeted by your investigation. Their financial records were obtained, records of the RNC, the Trump campaign, Cleta Mitchell, the Conservative Partnership Institute, the America First Policy Institute, NRCC, NRSC, PACs, conservative groups, people all across the country, citizens, because we hear a lot about members of Congress. And we should, because of separation of powers and the egregious abuse of power. But what we're not talking about enough, in my opinion, are the American citizens that have been targeted. Because frankly, are there any limits to the power of a special prosecutor or special counsel? So much so in your abuse of power that in the summer of 2024, the indictment involving classified documents was dismissed after determining your appointment violated the Appointments Clause of the Constitution, but you continued to sign your name on court filings until the time you resigned from office in January of 2025. A federal judge just recently stated a prosecutor who continues to sign his name in court filings after a disqualification order should face disciplinary action or disbarment. I yield back.
Jim.
So there you have it. Why are you going all after all these people's records? This is what it's called a fishing expedition. They were trying to find something to charge somebody with something so they could, charge them and stuff. And it failed badly. It failed miserably. And now it's all over. I got one more thing I want to talk about and we're going to end the show. So Donald Trump has come out yesterday and said that he wants to have the World Expo 2035 in Miami. So the World Expo, I guess it travels around, does thing. He wants it in Miami. And so he talked about that, and now Donald Trump says this: today I'm announcing the United States intention to bid for the World Expo 2025. The great state of Florida has expressed strong interest in hosting the expo in Miami, which I fully support. Miami Expo 2035 can be the next big milestone in our new golden age of America. I am appointing Miami native Secretary of State Marco Rubio as chair of the efforts of coordinating and advancing and this exciting opportunity to convene the world. He will create thousands of jobs. We will create thousands of jobs and add billions of dollars in growth to our economy. In my first term as president, I fought hard to bring the 2026 FIFA World Cup and the 2028 LA Summer Olympics to the United States. And now I have the honor of hosting the 47th president, plus the America 250, the G20 Doral, and the G7. I look forward to winning and participating in the Miami Expo 2035. So here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Marco Rubio has another job. This guy gets all the jobs. Trying to change my screen, it won't go. This guy gets all the jobs. Rubio, besides nanny for JD's new baby, he has another job. Yes, right. It's insane. But you gotta love it. It's great people. I wasn't the biggest fan of Rubio's Secretary of State, but I've been convinced. I've been convinced he's doing an excellent job. Donald Trump is a master at picking people and putting them in the right spots. He messed up his first term because he took advice from other people. He didn't this time around. Anyways, you guys have a great day. I'll see you all tomorrow. Patriot Mike is out. Make sure, hey, get ready for this storm. Put your extra pair of socks on and make some chili, drink some coffee. Don't worry about it. Life is good.